Social health insurance provider SZV brings patients back home. Member of Parliament for the National Alliance says the Dutch central government seeks to reduce poverty and social inequality. But first up, unions gather at the government building to seek clarity on document proposal. Those are the headlines for Friday, May the 22nd, 2020. And this is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you this evening, so let's get started. And as we start with our first story, members of the anti-poverty platform Claire Elshot, Raymond Gisseroen, and the various unions on the island, including the Telecommunications Union President Lucien Evers, gathered at the Government Administration Building to retrieve a copy of the document and to seek clarity. We will now hear from Claire Elshot, Lucien Evers of the Telecommunications Union, and Raymond Gisseroen.
The Minister of General Affairs expressed in that meeting her disappointment because she thought there would have been contra-proposals to be discussed in that meeting. We submitted as unions, after 2 virtual meetings with our members, we submitted the contra-proposals, the cost-cutting contra-proposals, where there was a number of how you would say, you would have a number of savings throughout the different ministries, and it had nothing to do with cutting personnel, but this was solely the cost-cutting measures that could save the government. That document was submitted via the CCSU since the 14th. No answer was received. We are not, as unions, even sure if our proposals were even part and parcels of the agreement. We don't know what agreements have been made with the Dutch. What were the measures that the Dutch imposed? We never got any official word on that. So we are seeking clarity and information, and also asking the ministers to please respect the human rights of the workers.
The reason why, we want to know why 2 letters, we want to know what is in the letters, we want to know precisely in writing the conditions that Holland sent to St. Maarten, and that way we could collect information, and we have the right information, then we could share information with our members, and like that we could make the right decisions in what will be the next step with this government.
No measures that is affecting the workers, but measures that can be taken that save the workers, but that will address the needs of our society. And with that said, they have this position. Human rights of everybody has to be respected, and that's not only a matter of the St. Maarten government, that's a matter of the kingdom government, because human rights to be guaranteed.
And as we continue now with more news, a Member of Parliament for the National Alliance, George Pantophlet, speaking at the urgent plenary public session on May the 19th regarding a discussion on how government plans to move forward kingdom realities considered with the financial, economic, and social future of St. Maarten. The Member of Parliament said that St. Maarten right now, based on Hurricane Irma and Maria and COVID-19, is in a difficult financial situation. He spoke about the Dutch taking stringent measures against the St. Maarten politicians.
St. Maarten right now, based on Hurricane Irma and Maria, based on COVID-19, is in a difficult financial situation, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it would have been okay if the Dutch were taking stringent measures against us as politicians, Mr. Chairman. But Mr. Chairman, they are including all 61,000 people of St. Maarten in the same method, in the same problem, Mr. Chairman. And that I find is wrong. Are we responsible as a government, as a parliament? Yes. Mr. Chairman, at this time, the Dutch are creating an environment where, and they're telling us, take it or leave it. Their attempt is, Mr. Chairman, is to put the people of St. Maarten against us. Mr. Chairman, we know for a fact, if we given 50, 60% of our salaries, Mr. Chairman, it wouldn't even scratch the surface. And Mr. Chairman, what I'm going to say now, if I'm incorrect, Mr. Chairman, the finance minister can correct me. Mr. Chairman, we requested $254 million in assistance for the next 3 months. Mr. Chairman, unless we get some kind of input from the construction companies where it is allowed for them to work and bring in some needed revenues in the tax department, I am seeing where between now, May, and ending of the year, as I said, this is my own calculation, we will need something like 800 million, Mr. Chairman. Not the pittance that they're asking us for, but I believe, Mr. Chairman, St. Maarten's government, we are assured and we know for a fact that basically we are able, with time going forward, in order to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and get out of this dilemma. But it should not be, Mr. Chairman, as a former speaker said before me, that they are not assisting us unless they put stringent conditions, but at the same time, we are not allowed to go on the open market and borrow. And I want the people of St. Maarten to hear carefully, listen carefully. Do not allow yourself to be divided, because one of the oldest things in the world is this divide and rule method that really has me, I don't understand why we as a people, and especially we as a Black people, allow external forces, European white forces, to make us fight each other.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for the National Alliance, Solange Duncan, who also was in attendance at the urgent plenary public session on May the 19th, touched on the anti-poverty platform statistics. She said the Dutch central government seeks to reduce poverty and social inequality and to take targeted measures to reduce poverty and is investing in giving everyone a fair chance. She expounds further.
The Dutch central government seeks to, 1, reduce poverty and social inequality. The government seeks to take targeted measures to reduce poverty and is investing in giving everyone a fair chance by supporting organizations that defend human rights, women's rights, and the environment. Another point is that they aim to promote sustainable growth and climate action worldwide. So each year, according to the website, the Dutch government spends about 40 million euros on climate and development funding. And this fund is intended for Dutch companies to go with their expertise to developing countries, to assist these countries in different things. The point of this Dutch development aid is to meet the SDGs, right? The Sustainable Development Goals, to end poverty in all forms, everywhere in the world, and to end hunger, achieve food security, and promote sustainable agriculture. These are just two of the goals that they've mentioned. Mr. Chairman, according to the anti-poverty platform, there are over 13,000 households on St. Maarten that are poor or in need. The last time I checked, St. Maarten was a developing country with increasing poverty. So that means that according to the website, which said that the government gives to mostly, the Dutch government gives to mostly African and Middle Eastern countries, the family of 5 in Sucker Garden barely making ends meet is not eligible. But a family in Somalia is eligible for the Dutch development aid. It makes me feel as if we are at a disadvantage in this kingdom as it concerns development in particular. And we are not eligible to receive the aid that is going out into the world to make the world a better place. We live on the edge of climate change. In 2 years, our people have had to endure one of the worst hurricanes to hit this side of the world, as well as a major pandemic. But we do not qualify for development funds without conditions. We have seniors, Mr. Chairman, that are still waiting on roofs, that are still living in conditions where rainwater is falling on their beds. We, as the government and the parliament, have a responsibility to those people, yes, but those people and us also live in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. But if we do not qualify for the development aids that go out to fight climate change and to fight poverty and to fight social inequality, then we don't qualify. But then what we need to do is be given the space to do what we have to do for our country and for our people. And that is what we are asking for. The MPs mentioned it before.
And still to come, Minister of Tayat says she is having great conversations with timeshare and hotel owners in preparation for their reopening. We'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Maarten, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
And as we continue now with more news for this evening, Minister of Rime, Egbert Doran, updated the press about a backlog of building permits. The minister said his department has been working diligently to have the backlog cleared up. He gave the update at the Council of Ministers weekly press briefing on Wednesday last, May the 20th, 2020.
Permits expedition that we started a couple weeks ago in regard to the backlog in building permits. This team that I formed has been working diligently in the process of these permits. The process has been going well, and in the meantime, well over 21 building permits has been completed thus far. That still has to go through one more process before it reaches to me for final approval. Additional staff from the Ministry of Rime will be joining the team as well to further facilitate this process. I would also reiterate that as a country facing these economic crises, the processing of these permits will generate much needed revenue for the government coffers. The Department of Permits is considered one of the primary income generating departments within the ministry and is imperative to maintain optimal level of functionality. It is my ultimate goal to streamline these processes and have them automated so that this can also facilitate in the expedition of these permits.
And also at the Council of Ministers weekly press briefing, Minister of Tayat, Ludmila De Weaver, said that she is having great conversations with hotel and timeshare owners in preparation for the hotels to be ready. She also gave an update about the public transportation sector.
So I must say I've been having great conversations with the hotel owners, timeshare owners, and they have all been proactive, and I'm very, very happy to see how many of us are proactive right now in preparing, the hotels to be ready, changing the way the restaurants in the hotels are set up. And as well as the hotels, you have even the businesses attached to the hotels, such as casinos, that have all been proactive to create their own guidelines. What we're doing is with the task force that's set up by the EOC members, they are in touch with hotels, airport, port, the individual businesses, marine sector, to make sure that all of the guidelines that we're getting from all of them is approved by VESA in terms of the proper protocol health regulations that are accepted from CDC, other renowned global, associations that have trusted oversight. So one of the things we didn't want to do was reinvent the wheel. And like the PM said, yes, we were looking at mid-June for it. And even originally, we were looking at July, but we want as much as possible to be prepared if we can go earlier, if the numbers still hold, if we all still remain safe and cautious and have our proper hygiene protocols in place with the mask wearing, sanitizing. The other thing that I did want to mention is that the conversations are ongoing as well with the public transportation, because everyone has these additional measures that we are all required to do to give everyone, not only our residents but our visitors, a sense of security and safety that we are ready. And within the coming weeks, we are planning with the different businesses, airport, public transportation, harbor, even the hotels, to do a sort of introduction video that we're ready. So the process of being a day in the life, almost, from a traveler arriving to St. Maarten, going in a taxi, going to the airport, so that everything you see, the day in the life video, that we're safe and we're ready to go and ready to receive you and welcome you back home.
And as we continue now with other news, on Wednesday last, May the 20th, the second repatriation charter flight brought home SZV-insured patients who have completed their medical treatments abroad and are able to continue follow-up treatments on St. Maarten. A total of 41 SZV-insured patients and their companions returned home from Curaçao and Colombia, Bogota, Cali, and Barranquilla. The first repatriation charter flight carrying SZV insured from the Dominican Republic landed last week at the Princess Juliana International Airport. The returning patients must adhere to the quarantine regulations. It's a comfort to know that our patients and their companions return safely back on St. Maarten soil. We would have liked to see our clients return home sooner. However, it has been a great challenge to navigate the COVID-19 international health restrictions and travel bans. We needed to be sure that we could get them back home with the proper health regulations in place to securing their safety during travel and back at home, Mr. Reginald Williamsberg, SZV's Chief Operations Officer, said. Together with local and international healthcare providers, it took the necessary measures to ensure that the qualifying patients who returned home were in good enough health to travel and could continue their follow-up treatments on St. Maarten. The returning patients and caretakers had been asked to assess their home situation with their families in order to make the necessary preparations for quarantine once back on St. Maarten. The patients were thankful for the charter flight and extremely happy to be back home. SZV is pleased to announce that after a long preparation phase, the charter flight was successfully executed. On board of the charter flight of May the 20th were also 4 non-SZV medical referral passengers returning to St. Maarten as a humanitarian effort. The departing charter flight from St. Maarten was made available for Colombian residents in St. Maarten to return to Colombia. The repatriation charter flight was made possible in collaboration with the government of St. Maarten, the Foreign Affairs Department, the Consul General in Curaçao and San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the Dutch Embassy representative in Colombia. And as we continue now with more news, Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, announced the Phase 2 of the coronavirus COVID-19 de-escalation plan. The minister made the announcement at the Council of Ministers' weekly press briefing on Wednesday, May the 20th, 2020. According to the minister, scooters and cars were confiscated for not having proper documentation for using the public roads. She said emphasis will now be placed on preventing armed robberies and breaking and entering cases.
The KPSM implemented Phase 2 of their COVID-19 de-escalation plan on Monday, May 18th, as part of their plans to mitigate the potential increase of crime on the island. In the wake of the negative effects the pandemic has had on our island's economy. Phase 1, which was launched on May 11th, was focused on the introduction and implementation of the plan to sensitize and collaborate with all stakeholders involved. In preparation for Phase 2, and while analyzing the actions taken in the first phase. Since the de-escalation plan kicked off, the following results were achieved. Several scooters and cars were confiscated in joint operations by police, customs, KEMA, VKS, and the Marines. These vehicles were under investigation for being stolen or for not having the right documentation to utilize the public roads. The police also issued approximately 400 fines and arrested 18 persons for various infractions committed. Most of the arrests and fines issued were to persons who were caught violating the curfew. The police will continue to enforce these laws, which will not combine with traffic controls, actions to maintain public order during the curfew hours, and emphasis will now be placed on preventing armed robberies, breaking and entering, and especially as it relates to business community on the island. As we proceed with the phases of de-escalation, I, as Minister of Justice, I am asking the public to adhere to the laws of the land and to continue to practice the new normal of social distancing and ensuring that you use sanitizers and be of good spirit within our community.
And now turning to our weather forecast for May the 22nd, 2020. The stable atmosphere will continue to limit any rainfall activity across the region. Meanwhile, the Atlantic high-pressure system will maintain a gentle wind flow. Seas will remain slight to moderate through the next few days. Outlook through Sunday midday, partly cloudy with a few showers possible. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Prime Minister of St. Maarten says the island is also preparing for the 2020 hurricane season. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And as we continue now with other news, a member of Parliament for the United Democrats, Sarah Westcott-Williams, wanted to know if the 16 million euros that has been made available for the Red Cross has St. Maarten's share already been decided. The question was posed to the Prime Minister, and the coordinator for ESF 7, Joy Arnell, gave an explanation.
How are the reports from our community councils or community leaders going? And is it felt that the individual communities and residents are being reached? So are we covering through our community councils and community leaders, the individual communities and the residents? The 16 million euros that has been made available to the Red Cross, has St. Maarten's share already been decided? And how close is the communication with the Red Cross? Do they share their reports with government?
Pertaining to the community councils, from the part of the strategy to reach as many people as possible to ensure that the community persons in the community are taken care of, we have reached out to community councils to help us identify persons in need. With that, we have put together a complete listing, what we call our master list, to ensure that as many of the persons who are giving and providing to the community, the different organizations, would use that list so that we could basically reach everybody at some point in time, considering that just what we've done so far was a limited amount of boxes. We have, with the assistance of Red Cross, of K1, of the groupings that consist of persons from Freegan, of persons from Domino's Pizza, and a number of other volunteers, we've tried to reach into the widest part of the community. So all the different areas, at some point in time, people have been able to receive stuff. Besides that, we also on a regular basis meet with Red Cross, K1, some of the organizations that we know are getting funding. So for instance, the Red Cross Foundation from the 16 million will be getting 3.1 million euros, which amounts to about 5 million guilders. We've been meeting with them to discuss what is the best strategy, where we can work together and ensure again that the monies will reach a wide range of the community and that we could stretch the funds as long as possible. So we recently had 2 discussions. We have another meeting set for Saturday. The money is not here yet. They still have to finalize some of their own processes and agreements that they have with the Red Cross from the Netherlands. But what they definitely did ensure is that the collaboration with the government would be definitely part of the process that they would carry out here in St. Maarten.
And as we continue now, Prime Minister the Honorable Silveria Jacobs on May the 20th, speaking at the bi-weekly parliamentary meeting with the Prime Minister, gave an update of the COVID-19 current statistics. The Prime Minister said that the island is also preparing for the 2020 hurricane season.
St. Maarten, in dealing with the current COVID-19 pandemic, is also preparing for the upcoming hurricane season, which starts annually on June 1st and ends on December 1st, November 30th. Over the past years, the National Disaster Coordinator, the ESF coordinators, and the Ministry of General Affairs continued efforts to ensure preparedness for the hurricane season. As such, the necessary sector plans and templates have been finalized and standardized. Pertaining to the plans that I have stated before, that could be shared with Parliament, I have brought this over to the EOC, and the relevant legislation was reviewed. It was determined that the disaster plans can be shared with Parliament, and as promised previously, will be shared before June 1st, 2020. I now go to the COVID-19 cases update. The previous was just to give it a perspective on where we are transitioning to. As we are de-escalating measures, we are now moving into the recovery phase. Since the last update on May 6, 2020, there have been many developments. Some I know that you have monitored closely and others that may have gone unnoticed. Permit me a few moments to give you the general highlights on the COVID-19 related news since then. Currently, there is 1 patient in the mobile medical pavilion located outside the St. Maarten Medical Center. However, this patient is also scheduled to be released this week, or be scheduled to be discharged today as we speak. The patient has recovered and will be escorted by collective prevention services to the isolation facility where they will be properly monitored until they make a full recovery.
And in other news for you at this time, the government of St. Maarten has announced that due to the ongoing development internationally, the price of crude oil have experienced adjustments downward for ULG and gas oil, which is diesel. The general public is hereby informed that as of Saturday, tomorrow, May the 23rd, 2020 at 6 a.m., the maximum consumer price of ULG and gas oil diesel has been decreased and has been amended as follows. For ULG, current price is 1.590. The new price is 1.386. For gas oil or diesel, the current price is 1.222. The new price would be 1.044. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, the Department of Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs, which falls under the Ministry of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, Ministry VSA, has been very busy under the auspices of Emergency Support Function 7, ESF 7, and would like to thank the Chinese business community for donating non-perishable and dry goods, which allowed for 244 food and care packages to be compiled for distribution. Members of the Chinese community also assisted with the transportation and loading of the food items, which were distributed by K1 Britannia to the most vulnerable persons in the community based on the registrations that the government received that was entered into a database. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of SXM Daily News team, we thank you once more for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again on Monday.